Hey there, my name is Danny Leibrandt, and in this episode of Local Marketing Secrets, I am with Dave Carroll, the founder and CEO of Dope Marketing, a software company that offers laser-focused direct mail at no minimum order for small businesses and agencies. Dope just landed on the Inc. 5000 for the second year in a row, hitting 475 last year and 675 this year. Dave's a serial entrepreneur who built and still owns a home service business, Lionshare Maintenance. 5 years ago, he launched Dope Marketing to make offline mail as automated as digital ads. Today, his team of more than 100 runs a full-scale print and fulfillment operation that integrates with CRMs like GoHighLevel and Zapier, sending postcards, handwritten notes, and even branded goodie bags, or boxes, goodie bags and boxes, triggered by real-time customer actions. Now, without further ado, Dave, welcome to the show.
Danny, thanks for having me, man. Making me blush on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, man. No, it's like I was saying, I would say you're one of the top names in the home services space. It's so incredible what you've done with Dope Marketing and even with your home service business. But I can't believe how fast you guys have grown. I just want to ask you first off, this is just kind of a spontaneous question, but I do want to dive into your background.
Yeah.
You just told me that Dope went from, I think it was 0 to 2 million, then 2 to 8, then 8 to 17, then 17 to around 30. Like how does that feel, man? Is it overwhelming or does it feel expected?
A lot of the stuff, Danny, I talk to business owners all the time. I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. And when I get asked about the growth at Dope, I look back on, what was our vision when we started? What was the plan? And it wasn't the numbers. It wasn't this many employees or this much revenue. I just saw an opportunity to solve a problem. And, as you build a business, I think it always feels like things should happen faster
Mm,
than they're happening. With Dope, when I look back, the weeks turn into months and the months turn into years. I still have to pinch myself sometimes for where we're at. But at the same time, like, it's my first time growing a company, going towards $100 million valuation or having 100 employees or doing tens of millions of dollars in revenue. And I mean, I still have the same feelings at
mm.
night, during the day, when I'm working through things that I had when I was growing and still very involved in Lionshare Maintenance. And so I think as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as founders, the problems are relative. Another zero is just another problem. Yeah, it's bigger, it's stressful, but I don't experience any less stress now, 15 years in or doing whatever level of revenue or managing whatever number of employees than I did when I was driving around in a van I couldn't afford, shoveling gas stations to pay the bills over the winter at Lionshare. Like, it's the same
Hmm.
feeling.
Interesting. Okay, so stress is relative, and it still kind of feels the same no matter where you're at.
I think it's how you manage it. I mean,
Mm,
like, running a business is hard. Managing employees is hard. Working at McDonald's would be really hard. So it's like
mm,
pick your difficulty. I think when you look at, I think our definitions of success change over the years, different chapters in life, different phases, what we're going through. But like the relativity of running a business, I think is very similar, regardless if you're hiring your first employee or you're hiring your thousandth employee.
mm. I want to ask you this also. And I feel like growing in business and just in life, it requires you to level up. What would you say are the points where you had to level up?
I think it's like recognizing the things that you do, the ways that you operate, even down to your vices, like the things that make you comfortable or the things
Mm,
that you like resort back to. Um, some of the big points in my life, me and my wife gave up drinking. It'll be 4 years coming up this spring. I think that was a big point for me of just like getting dialed in, being focused. I think I've had a lot of opportunities to get around, some big names or backstage or in the mastermind groups. And I just over the years, Danny, found that like a lot of the people that I define as successful are kind of doing a lot of the same things. Like
mm,
they manage their time well, they have a good morning routine, they're focused on wellness or their health or recovery. And in running and scaling businesses, I think it gets so easy to get into the grind and the 10, 12, 14, 16, 18-hour days. When you take a step back and realize, or you go to the questions, like, Dave, what would you tell yourself, when you were starting out, when you were 25 years old? I just look back at like some of the decisions I was making, some of the ways I was balancing my stress, some of the habits that came to me naturally, and I don't mean just the smoking, the drinking, the bad stuff. I think like being reactive, kind of helicoptering in on the business, going back to whether they're the worst or the best versions of yourself. And I think that holding yourself accountable as a manager, as an owner, as an entrepreneur, it's like, you get to choose what your heart is. And I
Mm,
think that some of the people that I find in my life the most successful, they're kind of all focused on the same things. And so for me, as cliche as it is, when I really got dialed in and when I made the decisions with Dope, to really, it wasn't even go all in with the business. With this, being a serial entrepreneur, I knew when I started Dope, I was putting the horse blinders on.
mm,
Anything from the partnerships, the affiliates, the potential investments, the opportunities. This one, for all the businesses I've owned, I've been a part of, like I really put on myself. And I think when I look back on the past 5 years of Dope and some of the glass ceilings I hit with my personal life, with some of the ways that I naturally operated, with some of my strengths and my weaknesses, I think one of the biggest aha or clarity moments for me as I look back is I just really made a commitment to, like, as corny as it sounds, just like focus on being the best version of myself so that
mm,
all the people as we were growing that depended on me, I could share that with and not be like as selfish with it was as I historically had been in my career.
mm. Yeah. No, there's so many good points there. I wanted to touch on that last one of the horse blinders. I feel like our nature as entrepreneurs is to naturally you want to start as many businesses as possible. You want to take as many opportunities as possible, talk to as many people, like what we're doing here, do as many podcasts as possible.
Yep.
But you do have to learn how to say no. And like you said, put on those horse blinders. So what was it for you? Why did you put on those horse blinders?
So in any business, there's always going to be opportunity. We all have the same 1,440 minutes in the day. And when I started Dope, it was like I knew that through I'd already been an entrepreneur for 10 years. I had relationships, I had partnerships, I had connections, and I knew that the problem that I was setting out to solve, like, it was bigger than just me.
Mm,
But there were also a couple unconventional ways that we approached solving a problem. I mean, Danny, if you told me 5 years ago I'd own a print shop, I'd tell you were nuts. That wasn't the
mm,
plan. Our whole plan was like broker this workout. But what I saw very quickly within 3 to 6 months of owning this business was like that was a problem that we had to be willing to solve ourselves. And I had been in the data business for almost 10 years when I started Dope. So I had a lot of partnerships and relationships, people that owned regional print shops, national print shops. But I was asking him to do something that wasn't really common, that like
mm,
wasn't the industry standard. And when I thought about like all the opportunities that came in offering the million different pieces of mail or all the different things you could print, we leaned in very quickly at Dope into yard signs because I truly believe that any business that used yard signs could truly use the service that I set out to offer with Dope, which was automated direct mail, no minimum order, laser focused, hyper targeted. But all those buzzwords don't really mean much until you're doing something. And so, like with Dope, because we had set out in the home service space right away, it was what I knew. We break the home service space in Dope down to 75 different verticals, like
mm,
75 different types of businesses. And when you hear the things like riches are in the niches, I was taking on a responsibility to kind of simplify or templatize the relativity of how direct mail could work for a lot of different businesses. And in that, the agencies, the franchises, the private equity companies, the owner operators, and just all their different needs, like all the ways that we could provide value with my experience and the experience of our team very quickly came the affiliate deals, the rev share deals, the partnership. I mean, without, ego aside or trying to not brag, like, Danny, we've been beating away private equity with a stick since we started this thing. A lot of it because of some of the relationships or the background of me and my team, and just really being like, not only like strategic, but very disciplined in like, not every opportunity is a good opportunity. And I think with, you know, I'm a visionary to a fault and chasing the
Hmm.
squirrels and looking at the different exciting things. And I mean, let's not even start with AI over the past couple
Oh
of
yeah.
years and just all the different things that you can do. One of the reasons that I believe Dope got to where it's at in the amount of time that it did is because of the discipline of having those horse blinders on and not chasing every squirrel and every possibility, but really staying focused on like our value proposition, what we offer, because we truly can at Dope help so many different types of businesses, from a owner operator that just started last month all the way to a multi-location business, however they're set up, franchise, owner operator, whatever, that's been open for 50 years. I mean, we work with all of them. And I think that the discipline in staying tried and true to what we focused on has led to some of the success we've experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason, and you kind of were touching on this, that a big reason of why you guys are successful is because you come from the home services space. You've had your company Line Share Maintenance for 15 years now or so. So you've been in the industry. You know all the things that you needed yourself as a home business or a home service business owner. And I want to dive a little bit more into your background
Yeah.
because I know we kind of skipped that, but I had some questions I really wanted to ask you. So tell me how you originally got started. How did you start Line Share Maintenance? Was there anything before that? And kind of how did it progress?
Danny, I'm an ex-knucklehead, man. I started getting in trouble when I was like 14. I went to 9 different high schools, ended up hitting the home run of getting in trouble. I was in prison from when I was 21 to right before I was 25. Never had a job in my life. When I was in a halfway house transitioning out of prison, uh, I got a job at a window cleaning company, and I was just like the worst employee in the history of employment. Like, you would never. I'm really bad at a lot of things. I'm good at a couple things. You would never want to hire me as an employee of your business. And so, very quickly transitioning out of being in some trouble most of my life, went kind of back to the same shit for about a year, like they say in sobriety or in treatment. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was just like, I don't want to keep doing this. I had just met my wife. She had just very quickly after this, she was pregnant with our first child. And I was just trying to figure it out, man. And in the home service space, it's pretty like low barrier to entry. You can kind of get after it and grind. And I just didn't really know anything else. So I just dove in head first, doing the sales, doing the customer service, doing the booking jobs, doing the actual work. And I had never really done labor in my life, had never really run a business. I sold drugs my whole life. And I just like anything I had ever experienced before, man, I just went all in. And then very quickly, this was right when Facebook was coming out. There was still like the online, like the posting boards, those old like PHP chat boards and shit like that. But Facebook had just come out, and I just saw the opportunity in Facebook and creating content. I just went all in with that while running the business, learning how to run ads, learning how to do videos. We were talking before we started recording, like, dude, if you search my name on YouTube, there's videos of me 15 years ago, like putting power washers together and stuff like that. And I got an opportunity to speak at a power washing convention like 2 years into my business. We had started experiencing some success from like a top line revenue and hiring standpoint in that business. Um, and I just saw these business owners doing $1 million a year. And I was like, oh my God, that's success. That's what I need to figure out how to do. And so I had started back in the day, there's this app called Voxer. If anyone my age remembers the Nextel phones, or like the Chirp, used to have like Young Jeezy on the commercials and stuff. And I would throw on a safety vest. I were trying to go get like commercial work, like strip malls, property managers, stuff like that. Man, I would throw on a safety vest, get myself all worked up, find a strip mall, and I would look like there's a Great Clips, there's a McDonald's, there's a Bob's dog food store. I'd try to find like the local small business, not the corporate one where there'd be like a younger person working. I get myself all worked up, set off the Voxer when I walk in the door, like, sir, Bob, hold on one sec. Ma'am, I need to immediately find water access to this building. What's the name of the property manager? I need the property manager's information immediately. Well, I did, because if I was ever going to do work there, I'd need to know who the property manager was. But what I would do is I'd do an estimate on every service at the strip mall, like what it would cost to wash the sidewalks, what it would cost to do the awnings, what it would cost to wash the windows. I would go around town and I would find the property manager's information. I would send them like unsolicited bids of what it would cost to clean the shopping center. And then I'd just follow up on them. I'd get these like etched candy jars with our logo. And I'd go into the property management office with it full of candy. They're like, what the hell are you doing here with this safety vest on? I'm like, nothing. I don't actually need anything. I'm going to leave this candy jar here. When it's empty, text the number on the jar. I'll come back and I'll fill it up every month for free. And I'd build this route, and then I'd start sending them bids on their properties. And if anyone doesn't know, not to tell anyone to go do anything illegal, but like, you can literally get away with anything if you have a safety vest on. Like, you can do anything that you want. Throw a hard hat on, you're in there, wherever you want to go. And so I started developing these methods and just putting content out of like how to generate commercial sales, how to get in front of businesses, how to hire, how to do the services. And then I came out with a piece of I couldn't spell software, but 3 years into my home service company, I took what would now be like a DocuSign or a PandaDoc, just like a glorified PDF merger. I paid this dude I couldn't spell $30,000, but I paid this guy $30,000 at the University of Minnesota to create this. It was called closethejob.com. I think the domain is still active. It was called Proposal. Didn't know the first thing about SaaS, but I started speaking at these trade shows, and within 4 months, we signed up 300 people for $90 a month for the SaaS. I was like, shit, dude, this is easier than washing windows all day.
What?
So I'm managing the software company. I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm growing the window cleaning company. Me and my wife, we bring my brother-in-law in. We're hiring, but we're in a seasonal business in Minnesota. They're not, what doesn't happen in January and February in Minnesota. There's not a power washing and window cleaning. Not a lot of that going on. So I started selling the software. That was growing, running the home service company. We're having some success with both. Fast forward a couple of years, I keep trying to turn the software into a CRM. Got into some failures there. I have 4 violent felonies. And so we got into this arrangement with this staffing company in Canada. I find out they're upcharging our invoices. I try to sue them, but I'm a dumbass. Our contract says I have to sue them in Canada. Well, I can't go to Canada because I'm a felon. And so we go back and forth. I'm just learning. I don't know anything. What do they say in that Ozark show? I don't know shit about fuck. I'm figuring all of this out as I go. And we end up having to pay off this staffing company. Like, I had a bill for like $120,000. We ended up having to settle it for $40,000. Learned a lot there. But what I really learned was how to aggregate lists for residential, like homeowners, businesses. And I got into the world of brokering data, just kind of like stumbled into it. That was about like 11 years ago. And ended up opening an agency to help agencies with audience targeting. And then I met our friend Dennis Yu. Mm-hmm. And I met Dennis at the Trafficking Aversion Summit out in San Diego. Got in with Dennis real quick. He's got all these huge accounts: Ashley Furniture, Nike, TiVo, UPAC. We start doing audience targeting for these Fortune 500 companies, and started getting more into the agency space, selling data to agency. I think a lot of times success is when preparation meets opportunity. And what happened was Facebook started taking away all of their audience targeting, like homeowners, credit score, income, home value. Well, I very quickly figured out how to get like 95% match rates uploading audiences into Facebook that Facebook took away. That through the agency, we're starting to do consulting. We're making some decent money. Removing myself from the home service business, that starts growing. But what I saw, Danny, was when I would sell lists, 2 of them would be to a small business owner, 4 of them would be at a telemarketing company, 4 of them would be to a direct mail company. And no matter who I sold a list to, I would have to do a level of consulting. It wasn't just the transaction of selling the data. I would have to show them and consult on how to use them, whether I was selling it to an agency acting on their behalf to their clients, or I was selling it to clients on my own. Love small businesses, love working with them, helping them grow. I have a lot of background in small business, so that was attractive. Telemarketing, I didn't love. Call centers, the rules were changing with ringless voicemails and text messaging and outbound dialing over the years. I felt like not really in control of that. Direct mail was like, direct mail space is ran by 70-year-old fat guys who suck at golf, whose kids don't want to work for
Yeah.
them. A lot of innovation in the print space and direct mail. So I saw a lot of opportunity, and I made the decision I wanted to build a piece of software that could do automated direct mail. And instead of sending like blasts of like 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 pieces, spray and praying, crossing your fingers, hoping it's working, I saw a different vision that you were trying to send, like, you could get more success sending more mail to less people. So getting
Mhm.
really into the targeting, considering mail, not this spray and pray approach, but more like little tiny billboards that you can put in people's hands and have it really automated, have it really laser focused, have it really targeted. But then all these print shops are like, you can't do these low minimums. It'll take 2 weeks to produce it. You got to stack them up. I looked at the technology that was going on in the print shops. I was like, no, you don't. I think you can do it a different way. And so I had the vision. We started writing the software for Dope a little over 5 years ago. We launched the company about 5 years ago. Started really focusing on the software. At first, we were just like brokering mail, like it wasn't a SaaS platform as much. 4 years ago, we launched like the SaaS side, the automations, the neighborhood blitz, the different version. First, it was just called Dope. We're to Dope 3.0 now, going into 2026. We're actually going to rename the software soon.
Hmm.
But yeah, we got into home service with just offering direct mail, connecting with CRMs, making it so you could like draw a shape on a map, send mail within the shape, filter things out like home value, how many acres is the property, what's the square footage, when was the house built, and then in the connection with the CRM and the business owner or the agency, really getting into the analytical side, like what is this model of your customer? How do we create like what people would define as like a lookalike audience, so the people that already like used your services, and just really getting in deep with the strategy, the design, the automation, the tracking. And man, fast forward 4 years, I turn 40 next month. And whenever people are seeing this, I think we're recording it in October. I
Mhm.
turn 40 next month in November. Dope is just turning 5 years old. And yeah, man, it's been a wild ride.
No, man, you're crushing it. Thank you for giving that whole background. That's, I mean, I can't believe I want to touch on that a little bit more of
Yeah,
like the ups and downs. It seems like there was a lot of downs earlier on of
yeah, for sure.
9 different high schools, went to prison, some lawsuits. So how does, I don't know exactly how to put it in a nice way, but almost it was almost like you were set to be a failure. You were going down the wrong path. Like
Yeah.
how does a person like that end up being as successful as you are? And what do you say to that person?
So I think success is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Mm,
I don't wish your story on anyone, Danny. I don't wish my story on anyone. I think
that's
those
fair.
are ours to own. But I think that, regardless of your upbringing, if you grew up in an amazing household or the opposite of that, you made some decisions growing up, you got caught for some stuff that you did. Maybe everyone's got a backstory, right? All the things that you did that you didn't get caught for.
Mm,
You should have been in jail for 100 years. Um, the idea is like, you know, we are what we make of the decisions that we
mm,
choose to be a part of. And I think, like, in my life, I met people that grew up in the worst places, drugs, abuse, all of it, all the way to grew up in Connecticut in a 20,000 square foot house, and dad was the CEO of a Fortune 100 company. And both people ended up the same and opposite. You have people that
mm,
came from the worst places that graduated from Harvard or started a $100 million business. You have people that started there that ended up on drugs, dead, or in prison. And I know all of them. And it's like, for me, it's really big, Danny, on accountability. On,
mm,
you you are you are the decisions you make. You are the people you surround yourself with. And I started making a lot of decisions at a very young age that I just wanted every day of my life to be a rap video. And it was, man. I was 17 years old, counting $1 million in a hotel room. Like, I look at some of the things that I exposed myself to. Not like, dude, it's not like I grew up in some terrible place, horrible neighborhood, whatever, but like, as a father of five now, I look at, you know, I remember my father asked me, I was about a year into my bid. My dad was sitting across from me. My parents were married 3 times each. My parents were married. They had 3 kids, knew each other in high school, moved next to each other, ran off together, had me and my brother. We're only together for like 5 years. And then my dad is still with his third wife. My mom is now passed, but was divorced from her third husband for like 15 years or something like that. And like, I think everyone's got their story. Everyone's got
Mm,
their upbringing. Everyone's got the decisions they've made. I think I made a lot of decisions to put myself in a position to be what you would define as a failure. But I also, you know, I approach life, parenting, relationships, business like, man, you breathe, you bleed, me
mm,
too. Like I can do anything that anyone's ever done. And I'm not an inventor. I'm not an engineer. I'm thankful to employ some really good ones these days. But like I I just look at life like you can literally accomplish anything you want to. Wake up a little bit earlier, do what you say you're going to do. Don't collect the check till the money's done. Make sure people are happy and go to sleep a little bit later. I mean, again, we'll talk a lot about success. And I think success is, I know my personal definition of success has changed a ton over the years. But when I think about like, my father asked me once when he came to visit me, um, David, what did I do as your dad to make you think that it was okay to go pick up a gun and go hurt someone? I was like, Dad,
mm,
by the time I was making those types of decisions, I wasn't at a point where I was thinking that hard about that type of shit. That was my life.
mm,
And I think about now, Danny, like, what am I doing as a parent um to not be sitting in that situation that
mm,
my father was sitting in? And I think that, I tip my hat to my wife and the people involved in our lives because we are very present parents in the Carroll household. And what's life about? Success and the grind and the stuff, like all that's fun. I'm not going to take it away from anyone, but I think for me, my definition of success now is very simple. I walk in my house and the people that depend on me love me.
mm,
And all the decisions I made in my life led up to that because my version of success up until that point was very different.
mm. So awesome, man. I love how you speak with so much passion and energy. You get me fired up. I love your mindset. Anything's possible, and it's clear that's what you're doing right now. And I also wanted to ask for relating what you were saying on the back end of that of raising your kids and what's really important. How do you balance raising 5 kids and still being a part of and growing this company?
We're in control of very few things in this life. Um, our given reaction to any situation, we're always in control of, regardless if we always accept that responsibility. But the other thing, man, is just like what your kids are exposed to. And these little people that, they only know what you show them.
Mm.
For me, the other thing that I take very seriously in my life is my responsibility for my time. I'm one of those crazy people, man. I wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning with no alarm. I always have. That's not like
Yeah.
not a new thing for me. But I take a lot of responsibility in getting myself ready for the world and getting the world ready for me every day.
Mm.
And in that planning, that preparation is the intentionality around, my kids will grow up differently than a lot of traditional households. Like my daughter she's going to turn 13 beginning of next year. And she's a spitting image of my wife, spitting image. She's experienced every phase of this, from us not being able to afford a $400 van payment because I got our second vehicle too soon at my cleaning company, all the way to like us getting our second home in Puerto Rico and traveling there as a family and seeing all this shit. And then like my youngest, Kobe, who's 2, this is all he knows. Us
Mm.
living in the house we live in now, experiencing the life we have now. Um, when I started Dope, I always knew the work that would have to go into it. Because again, I didn't know where we would get revenue employees. That was never the plan. I didn't sit down like, we're vision board. We're gonna get to Inc. 5,000 and we're gonna do this stuff. All that shit is just a byproduct of hard work.
Mm.
But what I will say is when I think about how I work and how I manage my day, now, being an entrepreneur who's about to turn 40, who's been doing this 16 years now, I just treat my time as my most valuable currency, and I'm very, very intentional. It's not even about the discipline, it's the intentionality, man. If I don't spend some time with myself in the morning, if I don't get my workout in, if I don't have my check-ins, if I don't just do my stuff that I know keeps me on track, can get into all the, the diets and the saunas and the cold plunges and the workouts and the stuff. Like, all that's good and great. For me, when I got very, very disciplined about my time and the balance, I'm not going to say I don't have a call at 6 o'clock some nights. I'm not going to say that my kids don't wake up and I'm not on the computer or doing whatever. We are very intentional with, we have an amazing nanny that is a part of our family that allows us to be kind of flexible. We have, like, I don't have a personal chef where I can like hit my walkie-talkie at 2 a.m. to get a grilled cheese. But we have people that like we take some of the money that we make and we buy our minutes back, which allows me to, dude, if I want to go on a run at 1 p.m., I can. If I want to pick my kids up from school one day when I wasn't planning on it, I can. And I just, with some of the previous businesses I was in, that wasn't the case. Like, that wasn't my intentionality. I was doing the 10, 12, 14, 16 plus hour days. But I think that's a part of it. You got to paint the room before you hire the painter. You got to know what you're good at, what you like doing, what you're not good at, what you don't like doing, and understand that, like, dude, hiring's scary, but what's not scary is the fact that you can literally take your minutes during the day and make as much money as humanly possible to be able to hire people to do the shit that you don't like doing and you're not good at. I don't like doing laundry. I don't like, having to remember to pay a bill or do a thing, or like, just, I am very, very, very intentional about focusing on the things that I am naturally good at or that I get excited about doing. And I try to figure out how to just simply, Danny, how to make enough money to pay the people to do all the shit that I don't want to do so I can focus on what I'm good at. Cause that's, if I look back in the past 15, 16 years of my life, when I am honed in on the things that come to me naturally or that I'm excited about, then those things happen faster and I can delegate the things that don't come to me naturally. Like, dude, I'm the worst manager ever. I'm not the systems and the process person. Like, my direct reports have a harder day than people that directly report to like people that are managers. Like, and I know that, and I explain that. I only in a company in Dope with 100 plus employees, I have 3 direct reports. Like, that's it. And that was set up intentionally because as the CEO of a business, look, I said this earlier in the interview, man, this is my first time running a company this big also. And like, what I've realized is if I am not taking things off of my plate and delegating, like, we get stuck just like anything else that I've ever done. And I think that for me, whether it's family, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, the way that I balance everything is I am very, very selfish with my time. I'm very intentional with my time. And it's not just because we figured out how to make money. I was selfish with my time when I was working 18 hours a day.
Mm.
It's just being intentional about it.
Yeah, definitely. No, I can totally relate to that too. The time is one of the few things that is limited, right? I mean, you can have as much money as you want, you can have as many cars as you want, hypothetically, but I mean, time, we can't get it back. So
Yep.
I've seen that with all the high level entrepreneurs that I've talked to as well, that you have to protect it like it is the most valuable asset because it actually is. And kind of related to that or adjacent to that, and what you were mentioning earlier was the different habits that someone like a high level CEO will have, with maybe like the sauna and the really good diet and the working out and, going to bed at a certain time.
Yep.
That definitely applies to the high level CEO and really is like the place you're at right now. But do you think that still applies to the beginner that's just getting the company going? Or is it like the nonstop grind at the beginning?
Everyone's got to start somewhere, right? I think if I look back in all the stress I used to manage, the hours I used to work, if I knew what I knew now about my body, I mean, look, man, like, your body's different at 25 than it is at 40. But it's also like, I'm very blessed that I focus, me, my wife, my family, and this stuff rubs off on our team too. Like, dude, I got ID'd buying Zins the other day. Like,
What?
I'm very fortunate to, I think that health, cliches again, man, health is wealth. Everyone's a beginner when you start something. And I think the sooner anyone listening to this, watching on this, just focus on your health, dude. You know what my favorite thing in the world to do is?
Mm.
Smoke cigarettes. If I could smoke cigarettes all day, every day, 24/7, I would. But I can't. Like, I
Mm.
can't. That was not good for my health. I feel worse. It doesn't serve me for anything. And it's like, I think that people get caught up in the like, well, I don't have enough time to do all this stuff. You know how expensive it is to like do some push-ups or go on a run?
Mm.
You have to spend your most
Agreed.
valuable currency on it if you look at expense. But like, I believe that if you put some intentionality around, dude, if you are your biggest look, we're not employees, a lot of us. Our resume is not our last job. It's our last
Mm.
success. It's our vision. It's the
Mhm.
project we did. It's the thing we're working on. It's you. And so if you are your biggest investment and you're not investing in your health, your wellness, your recovery, like again, cliche, what are you doing? You're grinding, plowing Red Bulls, eating Adderall, smoking lung darts. Like, what are you doing? Managing the stress, eating like shit during the day because it's quick. I mean, I I want to be a cliche here in the sense of like, if you are not focused on your health or your wellness, you're just leading towards getting a scary reminder of like I have friends that have been in their early 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. What are you going to do when you get a diagnosis of a health scare? And now
Mm.
all this grinding and caffeine and up and whatever, like all that leads to one thing. And I think that when you see all this focus on, you know, getting enough sleep, taking your protein, taking your creatine, doing these things, everyone's not doing this shit because it's cool. I heard years and years ago, we went out to see Gary Vee right when we started Dope, and he said something about like, look, someone asked him, so you work out, you grind, you run, you do this, da da da. Gary, you're a million miles an hour. What about when you're not working out? He's like, dude, when I'm disciplined, when I'm on my stuff, I'm eating good, I'm working out, I feel better. When
Mm.
I'm not doing all those things, I feel worse. I would rather feel better, so I just do it all. And like I just took that to heart. And I'm human too, man. I go in my phases, my stuff, my whatever. But I know if I am not staying focused on my working out, my wellness, my recovery, just the things that you see successful people doing, I don't operate at that high of a level and I don't feel as good. And I like feeling good and I like operating at a high level. So I just
Mhm.
do it.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I see like being cool as in like being spontaneous and not really caring, but if that's the case, if not caring is being cool, then you can't build a company, you can't do the things that you want to do. So it's not about being cool, but it's about, I mean, how can we optimize for the goal, our goals and the things that we want?
There was a phase in my life where I was the guy that your wife or girlfriend didn't want you hanging out with. Well, for a very long time for a lot of very valid reasons. I think what's cool now is being a good boss, being a good dad, being a good husband, taking care of yourself, like just being someone. It's cool when people look up to you, right?
Mm.
Like when someone's like, man, I see you, you're killing it. I admire you. But what about when you can just look at yourself in the mirror and be like, man, I put in a good day today? Or I'm
Mm.
setting the tone this morning where like these are the things I'm going to do. And just like energy to me is big. The universe to me is big. Words are powerful. Energy is powerful. Manifestation is powerful. And when you get in these rooms and talk to these people, they're just all up to the same shit. And I'm just trying to be feeling as good as they feel and be
Mm.
impacting people the way they feel. And it's just, I mean, I don't mean to downplay the work that goes into it, Danny, but it's all just pretty simple.
Yeah. No, I mean, you look young, so I actually can see you getting ID'd for Zens or whatever else. feel like I have more eye bags than you. I don't even know how that's possible. Um, I wanted to, something I wanted to make sure to touch on during the show, and I mean, we kind of talked about it during the beginning, but this is like the other half of it, which is how fast you guys have grown. And we talked about the levels that kind of requires as a human being to level up, but
Yeah.
just for people that are looking in on the outside and maybe haven't even touched their first million, maybe they're just getting started, or they've been in business for a while, maybe they're plateauing or even um, starting to lose growth. How have you guys with Dope grown so fast? Is there like a secret to your success, or what is it?
I think it was in the book, The Go Giver. They were talking, guys were having a conversation about like, all right, we're going to come out with a business. How much can we charge? And then like, how big can we get? Like, how much can we make? And when you think about like how much you can charge, I think about like the pet rock. So like guy made $1 million selling rocks with googly eyes and some like little
Hmm.
streamers on it or whatever. And when you think about like growth and how much you can charge and how many people you can help, if you're going to sell rocks for $1, you got to get a stand, you got to find the rocks, you got to sit on the thing, and like only so many people want to buy a rock for $1. Now, are you finding like maybe some gemstones or a little niche or something where you could like make some more, but like only so many people want to buy a rock for $1.
Hmm.
And it doesn't take much skill, right? Like anyone could do what the pet rock guy did. But then you go to like let's say like the best brain surgeon in the world that can charge the most money, that any one of these top 100 people in the world would have a blank check to come fix what was wrong with them. Well, that guy or woman had to like go to school, become the best, figure it out, solve the problems, and then like they only have so many minutes during the day that they can be doing these things to charge an amount of money. So whether you're looking at it from like an approachable thing of like, all right, how much can we charge? Well, how much you can charge is based on the level of problem you can solve. Are you selling a rock? Or are you doing
Yeah.
brain surgery? Or somewhere in between? Well, it's like, how much can you make? Well, how much you can make depends on how many people you can help. And I forgot who though, was it Robert Kawasaki who did the blue ocean thing where it's like opportunity in business. Say a
Yeah, I've
blue
read that book.
ocean,
Yeah.
there's no blood in the water, right? There's no sharks everywhere grabbing everything. It's a lot of opportunity. It's a blue ocean.
Hmm.
What I saw with Dope was the opportunity to standardize the way that something that a lot of people heard of, like, dude, the problem we fight at Dope has been said for 100, like direct mail is dead. Like, great. So are Facebook ads if you approach them the way that you did 10
Mm.
years ago. With Dope, the way we grew so fast is we took something that was out there. Like everyone heard of direct mail. Everyone's like literally the United States is broken down into 180 million parcels, like in the United parcel being like there's a property or group of properties on a parcel.
Hmm.
You know what every one of those parcels has? A
Direct
mailbox.
mail. Oh, an inbox. Yeah.
And so it's like when I looked at Dope and how direct mail was being done by, these guys and girls were lighting their cigars with $100 bills since the magazines, publications, junk mail, like all that type of stuff. And I just saw it different. And I positioned the business. I think one of the things that helped Dope grow is I wasn't trying to grow it. Like
Mm.
I had no intention whatsoever on like, you write a business plan, right? I was never like not the best advice, but I was never really big on business plans. If you need a bank, you need a loan, if you need a thing, like go write a business plan. But as an entrepreneur, I was just like, we're going to figure some shit out. And if you would have asked me 5 years ago, how big was Dope going to be? I couldn't tell you. I just knew that there was a big enough problem and I had come up with a solution that has still changed like along the way. We're a startup, we're agile, we look at the market. I mean, there's some things that came out with the post office that we accidentally got right that's going to double our multiplier in the next 2 years. Like double, like literally. If we're worth 50 mil, 100 mil in less than 12 months, just because of like something we did at the beginning that some shit happened. I said it earlier in the podcast, is like success is truly when preparation meets opportunity.
Mm.
And so for me, none of our growth was planned, but I'm an entrepreneur, man. I'm a founder. I'm a hustler. I take a problem and I come up with a solution. If anything, man, one of my strengths and weaknesses is I'm a problem solver to a fault, to the fault of
Mm.
like, I don't really set goals. I don't really operate in a like, let's celebrate. This is all great. Look at, dude, I
Mm.
have my eye of Mordor pointed on what's wrong always, always. And I've had to untrain that muscle in the way those things are delivered, because we're not a little dinghy anymore with however many, like the size of our business. We're not the Titanic, but like change management processes, rolling things out. It's not me and 4 people anymore where I can make a decision today and roll some shit out tomorrow. It's bigger than that. And that happens in all phases of business. When you go from just you and your buddy or your wife or husband or whatever to having 1 employee, to having 2, to having 5, to having 10, to having 20, like it's all relative, like we were talking about earlier. But I think with Dope, with the growth, man, one of my strengths is I don't really get scared. I don't really get worried. And it's just because that's all a distraction. Like when you give something energy, it gets more powerful. And so for me, being a problem solver, I used to approach situations, whether it was like a deal negotiation, a proposal, we're trying to hire someone and I'm trying to navigate it, a tough conversation with an employee, with a customer where we messed something. I used to sit around, Danny, and I would sit and obsess for hours. Like, what could happen? What are they going to say? What am I going to say if they do this? What if it goes this way? What? And then I realized, man, like the more you pour into that level of thinking, more you're giving those outcomes energy. And not that don't plan, not that don't be prepared, not that don't study, but don't be so obsessive to the point where you're literally creating an outcome because of the energy you're pouring into it negatively. What if you just sat around and said and thought about all the things that went right if you came up with a plan and you communicated what your plans were to people and you set your expectations for what you were going to happen? Like, I'm not a system and process guy, but what I've learned over the years is if you expect something from someone and they don't do it, you're only going to be disappointed. And if you expect something from someone and they do it, you're not going to think about it that much because you expected it. What if you look at business and communication and relationships of just like putting the work into setting the expectations around what you want to happen, figure out how the people that you're depending on or working with like communicate, and then like go to EOS. And if no one's read Traction and Rocket Fuel, Gino Wickman, get your shit together because you need to. But like the idea is there are operating systems for business, for relationships, for life, and all of them boil down to one thing. It's setting expectations. And an expectation is simply communicating what you want to happen. And now you get into the what they make easy in business, the rocks, the KPIs, the service level agreements, the SLAs, the goals. Figure out what you want to happen. Lay out your expectations and figure out how to communicate around like the metrics of this is where the shit gets really easy. So when I get asked about growth and business and dope and how fast it is, man, I haven't done this for, but a bunch of people have. And all I did was look at all the different ways that people grew businesses that went from 0 to 100,000, 100,000 to a million to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million, 10 million to 50 million, 50 million to 100 million, 100 million to a billion. Look, I got terrible news for all you entrepreneurs. Someone right now is going to do 100 times better at exactly what you're doing than you will ever fucking figure out ever in your life right now. That happen, regardless of what you do. And if you just take that instead of this like, oh, fear, stress, like, dude, that shit's going to be there. But how much energy do you give it versus the energy you give laying out the expectations of what you want to happen, putting on the horse blinders and just getting disciplined with that shit. And I know it sounds, I have a good or bad habit of making things sound inherently kind of simple, but how hard do you want things to be?
So you need to have systems in place, and the way the systems are powered are by expectations.
Or don't, and see where that gets you.
Yeah. Well, okay. And I also want to get clear on another point. You said that was the easy part. Then what is the hard part?
Showing up every day, like not being the worst version of yourself. Like, look, what got us here won't get us there. If I operated the same way I operated 15 years ago, 12 years ago, 9 years ago, 6 years ago, 3 years ago, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. Like the business is going to be held back by the way the owner operates. One of my business coaches told me, so like I've been doing public speaking for over 10 years. But what I found over the years is I would try to kind of like put up a wall because I'm a lot to deal with. Like me directly communicating with every level of employee in a business I run hasn't always led to success. It gets distracting, or it gets confusing, or it gets like maybe the best directions not being given. What I've realized is like, if I am not getting better, what my business coach told me was like, Dave, that version of you that you give people on stage and when you're on a podcast, that has to be the version of you that your team gets. It can't be like this other, we've all seen it, man. Whether it's the hot-headed, the reactive, the just moving too fast, like business, my man, I named my third for any hip hop fans. My son is named Nipsey, my third. And Nipsey Hussle, for anyone not familiar, look him up.
Yeah.
You're doing yourself a favor. Nipsey Hussle, a lot of his career and his message was like, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We're running a marathon. I could leave my house today and run a marathon right now. Like, that's how prepared I am for anything, for business, for life, for any of it, because of the work I put in. Well, business, what people fail to realize when you think about like the New York Marathon, you have heats of when it starts. You got the front runners, you got the second heat, the third heat, the fourth, the fifth. And what happens is some of those men and women on the first heat are finishing the marathon as the people are starting the fifth, sixth, seventh. That's a founder. You're in business. Like when you're 3, 4, 5 laps ahead of your team, you have to realize it's your job to either communicate directly with your team or put the people in place that are communicating. Like, you're always going to see the forest through the trees a little bit more. You're always going to have a level of understanding, whether it's the conversations you're having with yourself at 2 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever. It's the stress that you're feeling about making payroll, the decisions you're making through marketing, like whatever it is. One of the things that was the biggest aha light bulb moments for me around the growth, the time being spent, the people that are involved, just how to balance it all, is like taking the responsibility that I'm always going to be further ahead than anyone on the way I see things happening. But one of my Achilles heels is I would reactively communicate like, this is wrong and I know it in my gut, but there weren't processes in place. There wasn't systems. There wasn't rocks. There wasn't KPIs. There wasn't goals. Fuck my feelings. Could Danny come into our company, look at our org chart, look at the goal, the rocks, the goals, and an individual employee? What are the 5 things they're responsible for? What are the 5 things that they have to do on those things they're responsible for? What is the checklist of the employee knowing what they're supposed to do during the day so someone could objectively come into the business and be like, Julie's doing a good job or not because of the heat of her scorecard. Is it red, yellow, or green? And all that shit's good and great, but it's like, I get asked a lot, Danny, in that same thing. When did you come up with the systems? When did the process? What we had to, for the same reason of like, you can't depend on, in business, there's facts and there's feelings. And me reactively, emotionally coming in with my feelings to how something's operating because I'm 4 laps ahead of everyone. And then the people doing the job are like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. It's like you create all this stuff. And through the years, when I started to just take the accountability and realize like, this thing's going to get as far as I allow it to, and being self-aware enough that I'm not the top systems process person, I had to find and look at the things that the men and women had done before, steal like an artist and be inspired about coming up with my versions of those things, and be disciplined and accountable. And my least favorite word in the dictionary, patience, like be patient enough to just allow these things to happen and let them go wrong. Because until you give up control, you're never really going to have any control. And it's not like, oh, here, just do it and figure it out. It's like, am I setting my expectations? Am I communicating? And do we have checklists and rocks and goals in place to give something enough time to be like, this is working or it's not? It's not about my feelings anymore. It's about the facts that are driving the business. So sorry, like long-winded answer to your question.
No, dude, I love it. So business is a marathon, not a race. If you are lapping your employees, you either need to be on track with them or you need someone kind of an in-between to connect you with those employees. coming back to systems, and then also you have to keep showing up every day, right?
Yeah.
It's every single day. Love that whole concept. Dave, as we start to wrap up here, one question I want to ask, because I know you're big on reading, learning, and also one of those, the final things you were saying there's, you know, uh, uh, I actually forget the quote, but essentially like a good artist, creates art, a
Be like
great
an
artist
artist.
steals. Yeah, yeah. So who are the artists, I guess, that you've stolen from? Or maybe just overall the people that you've learned the most from, books, speakers, podcasts. What are you consuming? What's helped the most?
So I'm really good at buying books. I'm not always the best at reading them.
Yeah,
Um,
most people. Yeah.
but it's that discipline, right? I think like leaders or readers. Um, One of my dear friends that I'm really inspired by is my friend Tommy Mello. I've
Yeah.
known Tommy almost 10 years now. Before, A1 was just getting started, some of the other stuff. Tommy is a definition of a visionary entrepreneur. When I met him,
Mm.
he had 6 companies. Tommy is a huge person. Anyone in home service that doesn't know who Tommy is, hiding under a rock.
Yeah.
My man Jesse Itzler. I got in with Jesse a couple years ago in his men's group. Jesse's been a huge driving force in my life in not only the business side, but more like the wellness, the activities, the mental health part of it. Anyone that's not up on the Gino Wickman with the EOS stuff is again also under a rock. With Gino, he gives you permission to steal like an artist because like we don't follow EOS to a rigid thing. We have our version of it, but it serves us really well. Um, I'm a marketer. I'm a copywriter. I'm a data guy. So like
Hmm.
Bond Halpert, the boron letters is a
Yeah.
gem that I don't think a lot of people are up on. Bond Halpert was one of the best copywriters in the history of copywriting. Um, who are some other people? That another gem I always go back to is The Go Giver is a great book. Gap in the Gain is one of my go-tos, understanding the concept of being in the moment and not like in business and life. There's two really big feelings. There's anxiety and there's depression. And I think finding that middle of not anxiety is worrying too much about things that haven't happened. Depression is like laying in, sulking in things that have already happened in the past. And not that people don't have their pains or their traumas, but figuring out how to like understanding the gap in the gain is really important. So anyone that hasn't read The Gap in the Gain, huge. Artists are very influential, man. I got two of my kids are named after Nipsey Hussle and Kobe Bryant. So I
Oh,
think
nice.
finding your people and your messages around, for me, Kobe is huge. The Mamba mentality, the
Mm.
dialing in, just the signing the contracts with yourself is big. Nipsey Hussle was a huge influence in my life. I saw Nipsey Hussle at the House of Blues 15 years ago in LA. And he was just a huge part of my life. But I think the reason I bring up like Nipsey and Kobe is like, if you're not inspired by something, you're inspired by nothing. And so whether it's an artist that does like creates paintings, art, if it's a musician, if it's an author, if it's an entrepreneur, having something that regardless of the chapter in your life that you're inspired by, like I'll say it again, if you're not inspired by something, then you're not inspired by anything. And I think that it's an
Mm.
entrepreneur's responsibility to constantly find inspiration because again, I said it earlier, man, I'm not an inventor. I'm not an engineer, but I am easily inspired because there's a lot of smart people doing a lot of cool shit in the world. And I like to watch.
Amen, man. Love that. So you've got to find the people that are inspiring, get inspired, whatever that might be. Because if you don't find them, if no one's inspiring you, then you won't be
And
inspired.
I got to shout out, man. I don't mean to interrupt. I got to shout out our guy Dennis Yu. Like
Yeah.
Dennis, huge inspiration in my life. If I hadn't met Dennis Yu, I wouldn't be at where I'm at today.
Me too, man. No, I know he's been a big influence on my life too. So we were connecting on that before we started recording here. So awesome. We'll start to wrap up the show here. Last question I have for you, Dave, is what is your message for the business owners out there? Maybe for the home service owners, maybe for the software company owners like yourself. What do you want to tell them? What do you think they need to know?
It's the same. I'll give the same answer that I give when I'm asked like, Dave, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Mm-hmm.
Slow down. Just slow down. Like, we always feel like it should happen faster, but if it did, you wouldn't appreciate it. It's like the when I look back on aha moments, inflection moments, pain points, light bulbs, all of it through my career. You know, when you're when it's good, you got to always remind yourself that it could get worse or it'll always be worse. And when it's the worst, we were talking about, set up to be a failure, any of the things we've gone through in our life, relationships, breakups, partnerships, legal, whatever it is, anytime it's as bad as it could possibly be, it can only get better. And I think when you look at practice, the real muscle that needs to get trained for all of us, is just catching yourself when you're at your worst moment. When you're going to go back to that thing that is inherently the most comfortable for you, feel that ginger ale bubbling up and you're going to be reactive or you're going to jump in or you're going to say that whatever it is, it's like improvement is about pattern interruption. And when you understand, like, you know yourself better than anybody. And when you understand getting back to behaviors or habits and just catching that ginger ale, slowing down and just realizing that, like, you made the decision to start all this. Like, whatever you're doing, whatever you're going through, whatever's on your plate, that thing was empty before you started putting stuff there. And the stress and the hardship and the pain and just all of it that comes along, man. I've been doing this a while. And when I look back on any single inflection point, crossroad of my life, just slow down a little bit, take it in, feel that emotion, and just understand, like, you're the one that's in control to any reaction to anything that you put on your plate. And it's a beautiful thing. Like, if you allow it to be, that pain, that hardship, that stressing about payroll, that losing that big client, the lack of accountability, all that stuff, it all leads towards, look, what's the saying? Like, you look back 10 years ago and you probably have everything you asked for right now.
Mm.
And life is that simple. So being in the moment and just slowing down a little bit, I think, is really important.
Amen, man. And not just for success, but also just to enjoy your life, right? I feel like a lot of business owners that they're just, I mean, we've talked about all this of they get stuck in the grind and all this stuff. And they actually do, a lot of them achieve what they wanted to, but they never enjoyed it throughout the process. And now they wake up at 40 or 50 or 60 and they're like, dang, I mean, I just did all this stuff, but I was so stuck in it. I feel like that's a really important message. It's understated.
One thing, and I think this is a good ending point, is, like, I used to talk to one of my mentors about this. Everyone says, like, stop and smell the roses, right? Just stop, slow down, stop and smell the roses. I'll take a step back more often and just, like, realize the flowers are growing.
Mm. Amen, man. Love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dave. This has been so awesome. This is genuinely one of the best shows I've done. Dude, you're such an inspiration. You're so awesome. And like I said, dude, I love your energy. I feel hyped up and inspired after listening to you. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time. And where can people find you on social media and connect with you?
Yeah, so anywhere you can type in Dope Marketing, DOPE marketing, outside of being a cute name. Dope stands for data on previous engagement. So whether you're on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Google, any of it, I'll be the bald guy yelling on the internet about automating direct mail.
Awesome. And also, I know we didn't talk about Dope too much, but if you're cool with it, could you give like an elevator pitch of what Dope is and why people need it?
Dope enables business owners to truly be using cross-channel marketing. I like to say, like, entrepreneurs got 5 fingers on their hand for a reason. 4 things that are working, 1 thing that can always replace something you're doing. Dope marketing makes direct mail simple, and we use it by enabling business owners to make data-driven decisions. We take a little bit of a different approach for direct mail and print. And as a business owner or agency owner, we would love to show you how we do that.
Awesome. So definitely go contact Dope. We'll leave the link in the description. Also, all the links to all their socials. And what about you personally, Dave? Can people follow you on LinkedIn or Facebook or anything?
I'm everywhere, man. I'm everywhere. Type Dave or David Carroll. Look me up. You'll find me. I'd love to connect.
Awesome. Cool. So I'll link those in the description as well. And thanks again so much for coming on, Dave. This has been a
Thanks for
blast.
having me, Danny. I appreciate it, man.
Of course.